Good morning to you and welcome to the Fixed Wing Guy channel with me, Stuart Lomas. I hope I find you very well on this Saturday morning, which here in Manchester is, well, what you would expect from a Manchester summer. It's a grey, miserable, drizzly day, so nothing changes there, but it is quite warm. Now, I do note that they are forecasting that the British Isles is going to be hit by some form of tornado, but is this going to be a Michael Fish moment where he said in 1987, well, we're not going to be hit by any disastrous weather, and yet we had the worst storms that we'd seen for something like 150 years? Or is it going to be an actuality? Are we going to be hit by appalling conditions which is going to wreck the British Isles? We'll wait and see. Firstly, this. Anyway, I have no idea how long it's going to be, but it's a big subject, and with big subjects, I always try to keep them as tiny as they possibly can be. And this is kind of one, yet again, like my Big Bang Theory, where your theories, ideas, wonderments about it are as valid and as real as anybody else. What I want to talk about is time travel. Time travel is something that is a reality. And I know you're saying, hang on a minute, Stuart, it's complete science fiction nonsense. But bear with me. We do travel through time. We travel through time every day, every single day. And that's because we travel through time on a linear basis. The time that we experience, the time that we measure, is just a matter of when and how things happen, in what sequence they happen, because we look at time, in my eyes, like a river, which is flowing in one direction, and we are carried along without any other option to us by the current in one direction from point A when we're born to point B when we die. And all the water flow in the middle is everything that happens to us. So that'll be the end of it then. Well, perhaps not. I kind of subscribe to the belief that time is actually like a swimming pool, where there is no direction, no current, and you can swim, walk, paddle in whatever direction you want. And the only thing we've not quite managed yet is how to dive in. Like a lot of things where science is concerned and theories are concerned, our friend Albert Einstein is to blame. Einstein came up with a theory of special relativity, where he postulated, and scientists throughout the years, physicists, have all fallen in line saying that nothing can travel faster than the speed of light. Now that seems to be true. The LHC in CERN, the Large Hadron Collider, when they have done test runs firing particles around the collider, they have found that the particles do travel very, very fast indeed, somewhere around the region of 99.9998% the speed of sound, which is quite quick by anybody's stretch of the imagination, but not quite quick enough to break the light speed barrier. Now, this is where my wonderment about the human species comes into play. We tend to be wired in a way where as soon as somebody says, it just can't be done, it's impossible, just can't be done, you're going to have some bright sparks out there. People like the Wright brothers, people like Chuck Yeager, for instance, people like NASA, people like the Nazis, God love them, who believed that things could be done. Man will never fly, ever, because We're not birds. We're not built that way. How are we going to get off the ground? Well, not only the Wright brothers, but a few other inventors as well over the years decided to try to disprove that theory. And of course, we did. Then people said, of course, well, you're never going to be able to travel any more than 30 miles an hour without suffocating. Well, once steam engines came along, thank you, Mr. Trevithick, people started riding on trains, smooth steel wheels on smooth steel rails. How does that work? They rode on trains in open carriages. It exceeded 30 miles an hour, and lo and behold, they didn't suffocate. Then, of course, people said, now, the speed of sound. We will never, ever travel faster than the speed of sound. Then came the X1 project and Chuck Yeager on the ragged edge, living by the seat of his pants, who, of course, broke the speed of sound. And we on Earth, for the first time, experienced the sonic boom of some form of aircraft passing through that sound barrier. Through all of this, the belief has always been there that we will never pass through light speed. Personally, I think that's nonsense, because we, as human beings, we will always strive to do things that we have been told are impossible. So, what could this allow us to do? Well, what they postulate is travelling through time. Even Einstein said that there is a possibility, even in his theory, that travelling back in time is possible. There is also a paradox which people talk about, which you may have heard of, which is called the grandfather paradox, which is if you travel back in time and you kill your grandfather for some reason, let's say your grandfather was a mass murderer, and you decide that he isn't worthy of life, and you kill him. So he's dead. So therefore, assuming at that point he hadn't had children, your father would not be alive. Therefore, how are you alive to go back in time to kill your grandfather? The grandfather paradox. Going in a slightly different direction rather than time travel as such, there is something that has been proven called time dilation. It is something that's experienced by astronauts. A Russian cosmonaut, for instance, who holds the longest time in space, experienced something like a 0.00002% journey of a 0.2% of a second journey into his own future. So that's what they call time dilation. To bring that into kind of sharp focus, if a spaceship left Earth today and it flew at 99.99998% of the speed of light, and it did a 10-year round trip, so 5 years out, 5 years back, the astronauts on board the ship would assume that they travelled 10 years. And of course, that assumption is quite right. It will probably be upheld by the atomic clocks, etc., on board the spaceship, so their time frame would be within that spacecraft. It is believed, but as they came back to Earth and landed, it would not be the year 2025. It will be somewhere closer to the year 9000, because of the effect known as time dilation. So the further away from Earth you go, you experience time as you would normally experience it, but here on Earth, time would travel what appears to be far quicker. And can you imagine the effect that would have on your head as an astronaut coming back at that point, whether the Earth had actually been decimated by war or an asteroid strike, or that we are no longer the dominant species, or whatever. over the years, there's been quite a lot of talk on the internet regarding a US secret project, and I know I'm venturing into alternate theorists, as I call them, called Project Pegasus. I will put a link down below for this. It will be quite interesting for you to have a look at that and see how you feel regarding the credibility of a gentleman called Andrew Basigo, which is Basigo, who says that he was involved in this Project Pegasus for when he was a little boy, alongside his father, who travelled with him through time, through different portals to different sections of time. Let me know what you think about that. I obviously have a fair idea what a lot of you think about that, but it is one of these things that's out there that is of interest to me. There is also, at the moment, a live project through NASA who have developed, excuse me, let me just get a drink. Who've developed a living funded project for a warp ship. Yes, like Enterprise. They believe that this ship will be warp capable. They believe that this ship will exceed light speed, and therefore they will potentially be able to experience time travel. Nobody yet knows by what amount they will be able to travel through time, either forward or backwards. Possibly, if Einstein's right, it will be backwards. But I will put another link down below for the link to the NASA spaceship, and they've even got to the point now where they've 3D designed it and made a 3D model of the ship, I am led to believe. They do show pictures of the ship, and it'll be quite interesting to know where that funding goes and when that project is possibly likely to get off the ground. The thing is that is obviously holding it back is engine technology. Rockets are so old hat now. It's a very expensive way to travel. It's a very inefficient way to get off the planet. So they're going to have to look at different ways of using perhaps matter and antimatter and balancing the two, or something like an ion engine maybe, to get them up to the speeds necessary to warp space-time. I think where time travel is kind of going for me is that I see it as a challenge that will be picked up, because it has to be picked up. It has been noted by scientists that we are being bombarded by subatomic particles called neutrinos. And the neutrinos themselves, those are actually, nobody disagrees that they exist because there's evidence of them. They tend to increase with solar flares, and they travel through any material. It doesn't matter whether you're in a house or a lead-lined bunker or whatever, these things pass through everything. The disagreement comes because scientists on one side believe that these things have actually no mass whatsoever. They are kind of non-existent, massless subatomic particles. On the other side, you've got scientists who believe that they do have a small amount of mass. So why is that important? Well, that's important because without mass, they believe that it is impossible for anything to penetrate the light speed barrier. With mass, they believe that it is possible. And they say that it has been monitored that neutrinos have exceeded the speed of light. So, going back to what we were saying earlier, that given the proof that if it does, if they have mass and they do pass through the light speed barrier, then travel through time could be a real possibility, which will open up all sorts of doors and all sorts of conversations, and whether it's right or wrong for us to do so, whether people will want to travel back in time to correct wrongs that they see in society, or travel forward in time just out of sheer curiosity, maybe even to get evidence that at some point in the future we come up with a cure for cancer, maybe, and bring that cure back. So neutrinos are a very interesting field of investigation right now, and I say are causing quite a lot of controversy in the scientific field. So have a look at neutrinos as well. So kind of that's it. I want to try and keep this under kind of 20 minutes if I can. We're now 16 minutes, so I'll kind of wind it up here. So where I'm going is time travel possible? Yes, I believe it is, if Einstein is correct, that if we exceed the speed of light, we will be able to travel backwards and forwards in time. The problem, therefore, is, are we going to be able to travel faster than the speed of light? Not at the moment. We haven't got the technology. Will we have the technology? Being human beings, yes, I believe we will. And once we have the technology, it will not stop us from using it and exploring all possibilities of using that technology. And where that will take us, more importantly, when that will take us, will be quite interesting. So as always, I will look forward to your questions, queries, theories, which are as valid as mine, as valid as NASA's, as valid as Einstein's even on this one. Let me know what you think, whether you've come across anything that's interesting about the potential of time travel, where you'd go if you could go backwards in time, where you'd go if you could go forwards in time, and why you'd want to do it. So for now, that's it. Thank you all very much for watching this one. A little bit longer, I appreciate that, but the warning was there at the beginning. So as always, I look forward to reading everything that you put down below. And for now, I'll speak to you again soon. Bye-bye.